Hi everyone. Welcome to English Story School, where storytelling meets English learning. Unlock your language skills through captivating tales and unforgettable adventures. Have you ever felt like you're carrying the weight of your dreams all by yourself? Like no matter how hard you work, no matter how much you push yourself, the road ahead feels endless and lonely? What if I told you that the secret to overcoming this challenge doesn't lie in working harder, but in the people you surround yourself with? Imagine having a support system so strong, so inspiring, that it helps you overcome every obstacle, every setback, and every moment of doubt. That's what we're talking about today, building your tribe. Let me take you deeper into the story of Sarah, a young entrepreneur brimming with energy and dreams, who was determined to change the world. From the outside, Sarah seemed like she had it all figured out. She had a clear vision, a burning passion to create something new, and an unrelenting drive to make it happen. Starting her own business wasn't just an idea for her. It was a dream that consumed her thoughts day and night. Every morning, she woke up with a new burst of energy, excited to take the next step, but every night, she found herself lying awake, consumed by the fear that it wasn't enough. Sarah's vision was crystal clear. She wanted to build a business that would not only make a difference, but would also allow her to live a life of freedom and fulfillment. She poured her heart and soul into her work. Long nights were spent hunched over her laptop, researching, strategizing, and pushing herself to the brink of exhaustion. But despite the tireless effort, there was an underlying sense of unease. Something was missing. She had the dream, the energy, and the determination, but for some reason, things just weren't clicking the way she expected. At first, Sarah thought maybe she just needed to work harder. She doubled down, giving more of her time and energy to her business. She sacrificed weekends, skipped social events, and gave up personal time, all in the name of her dream. The hustle became her identity. It wasn't just a side project anymore. It was everything. And yet, as the days went by, she found herself facing constant setbacks. Every time Sarah thought she was making progress, she was met with a roadblock. Projects that seemed promising at first collapsed before they even got off the ground. Potential partnerships that appeared golden turned out to be nothing but empty promises. And worst of all, Sarah began to feel like she was stuck in an endless loop, working harder than ever, but seeing fewer results. She would push herself through each challenge, only to find that the finish line kept moving further and further away. With each failed attempt, Sarah's frustration grew. It wasn't just about the losses. Though they stung, it was the feeling that no matter how hard she worked, she couldn't get ahead. The dream that once fueled her every move started to feel more like a burden than a blessing. She began to wonder if maybe she was missing something crucial. Maybe it wasn't just about the effort or the work ethic. It was something else. Despite all the long hours, the sacrifices, and the energy she poured into her business, Sarah began to question if she was on the right path. Was she alone in this struggle? Was it supposed to be this hard? Sarah found herself at a crossroads, unsure of what to do next. The dream that once felt like an unstoppable force now felt like a distant goal, one that seemed to slip further from her grasp every time she reached for it. But little did Sarah know, The answer wasn't about working harder or burning herself out even more. It wasn't about sacrificing every piece of her life for the dream. It was something much more profound, and it was something that would change her journey forever. What she needed wasn't more hours at her desk. It was something entirely different. This is where Sarah's story takes a crucial turn. The missing piece of the puzzle wasn't more hustle. It was more heart, more connection, and more community. Her journey wasn't meant to be a solitary one. It was meant to be shared, built, and nurtured with the help of others who believed in her, who understood her struggles, and who could help her rise above the obstacles she couldn't face alone. And that's exactly where Sarah's transformation began, when she learned that success wasn't about working harder or being smarter. It was about building the right tribe. The people around her would make all the difference, and with the right support system, everything could change. Sarah didn't just need more hours in the day. She needed the right people by her side. And this realization, this game-changing moment, would soon turn her entire world around. But before we get to how Sarah changed the game, let's take a deeper look at what it truly means to build a tribe. Sarah's journey, which had once been filled with optimism and excitement, began to feel like a lonely, uphill battle. At first, she thought she was doing everything right, working tirelessly, staying focused, and relentlessly pursuing her dream. But as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, she found herself sinking deeper into a feeling of isolation. It wasn't that she lacked the support of the people around her. Her family was always there, cheering her on with love and encouragement. But they couldn't truly understand the depth of her struggle. They saw her passion, but they didn't see the daily grind, the long hours, the disappointments that piled up one after another. They didn't know what it was like to sacrifice everything for something that felt so far out of reach. While they wished her success, they didn't have the experience or the tools to help her navigate the emotional roller coaster she was on. Her friends, too, were supportive, but they were on entirely different paths. They didn't share the same ambition, the same relentless drive to build something from scratch. They couldn't understand the sacrifices she was making, the countless hours spent alone, working, and sacrificing everything for her dream. Her friends were caught up in their own lives, in different careers, different goals. They didn't feel the same urgency that Sarah did. And their advice, though well-meaning, often felt hollow. They didn't get her, and so she kept trying to explain her vision, but every conversation felt more like a monologue than a discussion. With no one truly understanding the weight of what she was carrying, Sarah began to feel more and more like an outsider in her own life. The people who were supposed to offer support seemed distant. The loneliness grew like a shadow over her, reminding her that while she might have a circle of friends and family around her, she was still walking this path alone. She was stuck in a vicious cycle of trying harder, doing more, and pushing through her exhaustion. She believed that if she just worked harder, if she sacrificed a little bit more, then maybe, just maybe, things would finally fall into place. But the harder she pushed, the further away success seemed to get. Every setback felt like a punch to the gut, and every failure felt like a personal attack. Her body was exhausted, but worse, her spirit was beginning to feel crushed. She'd wake up every morning with a burning desire to keep moving forward. But as the day went on, that fire began to dim. No matter how many hours she worked, how many late nights she sacrificed, how many strategies she revised, nothing seemed to be working. The progress was too slow, the roadblocks too frequent. She started to wonder if she was doing something wrong, if perhaps she wasn't cut out for this after all. The dream that once sparked excitement and fueled her ambition now felt like an unbearable weight pressing down on her chest. What had once been a source of inspiration had turned into a source of frustration. She questioned her ability, her choices, and even the very dream that had once been the driving force of her life. Was it worth it? Was this what success looked like? Endless setbacks, frustration, and loneliness? In those quiet moments of self-reflection, Sarah couldn't escape the overwhelming sense of isolation. She felt as though she was carrying the world on her shoulders, yet no one was there to share the load. The dream had become something she was desperately clinging to, but she began to fear that her grip was slipping. What had once felt like an exciting adventure now seemed like a daunting, lonely battle. She began to wonder if maybe she was on the wrong path altogether. Maybe the way she had been approaching things wasn't the answer. But it was in this deep moment of despair and isolation that Sarah realized something critical, something that would change her journey forever. The key wasn't to keep trying harder, working longer, or sacrificing even more of herself. The key wasn't to prove how strong she was by doing everything alone. It was something much more powerful, something that would ultimately lead her to breakthrough. She needed to stop carrying the weight of her dream by herself. She needed to build a tribe, people who could stand beside her, support her, and share the load. It wasn't about being strong on her own. It was about allowing others to lift her up, offer guidance, and share the journey with her. This realization, though simple, was the turning point Sarah needed to break free from the exhausting cycle she had trapped herself in. And so, in the midst of this isolation and exhaustion, Sarah set out on a new path, a path where she no longer had to walk alone, but instead, where she could build a network of like-minded people who would help her rise above her challenges. Then, one fateful day, everything shifted for Sarah. It wasn't some grand revelation or a sudden breakthrough moment. Rather, it came from an unexpected conversation that changed the course of her journey. Sarah had been working tirelessly, feeling overwhelmed, isolated, and unsure of the next step. She was stuck in a cycle of pushing harder and harder, trying to do everything herself, all while battling doubts and frustrations. She had no idea what she needed to move forward, but she knew something had to change. That's when she met someone who would forever alter her perspective. A fellow entrepreneur, someone who had been where Sarah was and understood the relentless grind she was going through. It wasn't just a casual chat over coffee. This conversation felt different. The other entrepreneur didn't simply offer a set of strategies or a generic piece of advice about staying the course or working harder. Instead, they spoke with a depth of understanding that instantly resonated with Sarah. They didn't just talk about success. They talked about the struggles, the failures, the moments of doubt that came with the territory. They spoke openly about how challenging it could be to build something from scratch, how loneliness could creep in, and how even the most passionate entrepreneurs faced obstacles that sometimes felt insurmountable. What made this conversation so powerful wasn't just the shared struggles, but the way the other entrepreneurs spoke about their own journey. They didn't boast about their successes or give Sarah a superficial pep talk. No, they shared something much more valuable: vulnerability. They opened up about how, at one point, they too had felt lost, unsure, and on the verge of giving up. But then, they made a pivotal decision, one that Sarah had never truly considered before. They realized that success didn't come from sheer willpower alone. The key to their breakthroughs, their sustained success, and their ability to push through the toughest moments had been their community. It wasn't just about working harder or smarter. The true game changer was having a tribe, a group of people who not only supported them, but actively helped them grow. This entrepreneur shared how their tribe had been there through thick and thin. When they fell down, when failure seemed inevitable, it was their tribe who lifted them up, providing encouragement when they couldn't find it within themselves. But more than that, their tribe challenged them. They didn't let them settle for mediocrity or give up when things got tough. They pushed them to think bigger, to act bolder, and to keep going even when the path seemed unclear. The entrepreneur went on to explain how having a community of like-minded individuals had given them access to resources, insights, and knowledge that they couldn't have found on their own. They talked about how their tribe had shared opportunities, connected them to mentors, and offered advice that opened up new avenues for growth, things they never would have had access to if they had continued trying to do it all alone. The tribe wasn't just there to pat them on the back. It was a network that actively fueled their success, helping them navigate obstacles and, most importantly, offering genuine relationships that gave them the confidence to move forward with renewed purpose. As Sarah listened, something inside of her began to click. She had always viewed success as something she needed to achieve solo, a personal battle that could only be won through her own efforts. But here, in this conversation, she was hearing a completely different story. Sarah began to realize that she didn't need to keep fighting alone. The right people, people who genuinely cared about her growth, who could offer valuable advice and support, could help her push through the hardest moments. She didn't need to be everything all at once. She didn't need to carry the weight of her dreams by herself. What she needed was a community of people who could help her shoulder the load, challenge her to reach higher, and provide the resources and connections that she couldn't find on her own. The shift in Sarah's mindset was nothing short of transformative. As she reflected on the conversation, she began to see how much more effective and fulfilling her journey could be if she surrounded herself with the right people. No longer did she need to be alone in her struggles, trying to piece together answers in isolation. She realized that building her own tribe, her own network of mentors, peers, and supporters could create the foundation for a much more powerful and sustainable path forward. This wasn't just about finding people who agreed with her ideas. It was about finding people who believed in her potential, people who would challenge her, encourage her, and share their own journeys with her. People who would push her beyond her comfort zone and provide insights that she hadn't considered. Sarah understood now that building a tribe wasn't just a nice-to-have. It was essential to her success. It was the difference between struggling in isolation and achieving the kind of success that was supported, collaborative, and truly sustainable. And so, this conversation became the catalyst that would forever change the trajectory of Sarah's entrepreneurial journey. With newfound clarity, she set out to build the community she needed, one connection at a time. She reached out to other entrepreneurs, seeking mentors, engaging with like-minded individuals, and creating a circle of support that would help her grow in ways she hadn't imagined. No longer was Sarah isolated in her struggles. She had found her tribe, and with it, she began to experience success in ways that felt not only achievable, but deeply meaningful. That conversation was nothing short of a revelation for Sarah. It was as if a fog had been lifted from her mind, and the weight that had been pressing down on her shoulders for so long began to feel lighter. Up until that moment, she had believed that her struggle, the constant battle against roadblocks and setbacks, was a sign of her own inadequacies. She thought the sleepless nights, the overwhelming sense of isolation, and the feeling of running in circles without making any real progress were all part of the journey, a necessary evil that came with the territory of being an entrepreneur. In her mind, struggling alone was simply part of the process. It was proof that she was working hard, fighting tooth and nail for her dreams. But in that moment of realization, everything changed. As the other entrepreneur spoke, Sarah began to see things from an entirely new perspective. Her struggles weren't a reflection of her weakness or a sign that she wasn't good enough. In fact, they weren't even a personal failure. The truth was, she had been trying to do it all alone, and that was the real problem. She had been carrying the burden of her dreams, her ambitions, and her challenges by herself, believing that independence and self-reliance were the keys to success. But what she hadn't understood, until that pivotal conversation, was that the path to success wasn't meant to be a solo journey. It wasn't about doing everything herself, proving her strength through sheer willpower. The most powerful part of the puzzle, the missing piece, was something Sarah had never truly considered: her tribe. Her vision was clear, her passion was unwavering, but she had been navigating the entrepreneurial landscape without the support of a community, without people who truly understood her goals, her drive, and the obstacles she faced. It was a humbling realization for Sarah. The one thing that could have propelled her forward, the one thing that could have helped her overcome the countless challenges, wasn't something she could create alone. She needed a tribe. A tribe wasn't just a group of people. It was a collective force that would work with her, not against her. These were the individuals who would share her vision, not just sympathize with her struggles, but actively help her carry the load. They would challenge her to be better, to stretch her limits, and to think in ways she hadn't before. They wouldn't just cheer her on from the sidelines. They would engage with her journey, offering valuable insights, advice, and emotional support when she needed it most. Sarah's tribe would be the ones who helped her grow, who provided the tough love when she needed a push, and who were genuinely invested in her success. She began to realize that having a tribe wasn't about surrounding herself with people who simply agreed with her ideas or made her feel good about her progress. It was about finding individuals who would ask the hard questions, offer constructive criticism, and help her expand her vision. These were the people who would show her how to see beyond the obstacles she had been focusing on for so long. They were the ones who would show her that setbacks weren't failures but opportunities to learn and grow. They would be her sounding board, her support system, and her greatest motivators. And this realization didn't just change Sarah's approach to her business. It changed the way she viewed her entire journey. She understood now that success wasn't about having all the answers or knowing everything from the start. It wasn't about avoiding mistakes or never feeling uncertain. What truly mattered was having the right people by her side. It was about sharing the journey with others who had the same hunger, the same passion, and the same commitment to growth. It was about building a community that wasn't just supportive but also demanding, one that would hold her accountable to her highest potential and constantly push her to aim higher. As she reflected on this newfound understanding, Sarah realized that this was exactly what she had been missing all along. She had spent so much time and energy trying to prove to herself that she could make it alone. She could carry the weight of her dreams, solve every problem on her own, and figure it all out without help. But in doing so, she had been unknowingly limiting herself. By refusing to build her tribe, she had denied herself the very thing that could have made her path easier, more successful, and far more enjoyable. Now, Sarah saw the importance of collaboration, connection, and mutual support. She knew that building a tribe wasn't a sign of weakness or a failure to succeed on her own. In fact, it was quite the opposite. It was an act of strength and wisdom to seek out those who could help her navigate the rocky terrain ahead. Building a tribe wasn't just about finding people who were aligned with her vision. It was about finding those who would help her refine that vision, make it bigger, and turn it into something even greater than she could have imagined on her own. This realization sparked a new sense of energy and focus in Sarah. She knew that she had to actively build the tribe she needed. She reached out to other entrepreneurs, mentors, and even people outside her immediate circle who could offer valuable perspectives. Slowly, she started to surround herself with people who shared her values, her goals, and her commitment to growth. She made a conscious effort to invest time and energy into relationships that would challenge her to grow, that would hold her accountable, and that would provide the support she needed to move forward with confidence. And as Sarah began to build her tribe, she quickly saw the power of what it meant to have a community that not only believed in her, but actively contributed to her growth. With her tribe behind her, Sarah felt more confident, more supported, and more capable than ever before. She no longer had to carry the weight of her dreams alone. She had found her tribe, and together, they were going to change the world. Building your tribe isn't just about gathering a group of people. It's about surrounding yourself with the right people. The kind of people who inspire you to think bigger, act bolder, and dream more audaciously. Your tribe should be filled with mentors, peers, and supporters. Individuals who believe in your mission and encourage you to grow. It's not about having a crowd of people who nod and cheer without understanding what you stand for. It's about creating meaningful connections with people who are willing to hold you accountable, challenge your ideas, and celebrate your victories as if they were their own. Think about it. If you were to start a new project, would you rather have hundreds of people who don't understand your purpose, or a few individuals who truly align with your goals? Quality always trumps quantity. And in Sarah's case, that realization was transformative. She began to seek out those who had already walked the path she was on, those who had faced the same challenges and overcame them. She didn't just look for anyone. She looked for mentors, advisors, and fellow entrepreneurs who would help her grow, teach her, and push her to be better. But here's the truth. Building a tribe doesn't happen overnight. It's not about sending a few messages or making a few posts and expecting results. It takes time. It takes intentionality. It takes vulnerability. You have to put yourself out there, not just by sharing your wins, but by being open about your struggles. You have to show up for others, support them, and offer what you can in return. The strength of your tribe lies in the mutual trust, respect, and genuine support you offer one another. Sarah realized that being part of a tribe wasn't about taking from others, it was about giving too. She started volunteering her time, offering advice, sharing her expertise with others who were just starting their own journeys. In doing so, she not only grew as an individual, but began attracting others who wanted to help her succeed. Slowly, her tribe began to form. People who genuinely cared about her progress and believed in her potential. The more she gave, the more the right people found their way to her. Ideas flowed, opportunities presented themselves, and Sarah's once isolated journey became a collective, collaborative effort. Her business started to grow, not just because she was working harder, but because she was no longer working alone. The strength of her tribe allowed Sarah to see new possibilities, forge new partnerships, and approach challenges with renewed energy and fresh perspectives. And perhaps most importantly, she realized she wasn't alone anymore. This story is a powerful reminder of the importance of community. Building your tribe can amplify your strengths, help fill in the gaps in your knowledge, and provide the support you need to keep going when the going gets tough. It's not just about networking. It's about creating real, meaningful relationships with people who will walk with you through every high and low of your journey. So, how do you start building your tribe today? It starts with being intentional. Think about the qualities you want in your tribe. Look for people who share your values, vision, and commitment to growth. Reach out, connect, and be open to engaging with those who inspire you. And remember, building your tribe is a two-way street. It's about giving as much as you receive, supporting as much as you are supported. The right people will come into your life when you're ready and when you're willing to create space for them. Trust that by being vulnerable, showing up, and offering your support to others, your tribe will begin to form. And before you know it, you'll have a strong, supportive community you need to succeed. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.